Ngā Mokopuna, the building around us, is a building project that we've been on for many years.
The building is there to create a space where people don't feel lost in the system.
Building about nurturing future generations, it's about the grandchildren.
So Ngā Mokopuna, I suppose, is a realisation of a vision that started, well, I suppose probably over 40 years ago, with the creation of Te Herenga Waka, which is outside our wharenui.
It's aspiring to achieve 7-petal Living Building Challenge certification, which is the most rigorous sustainability certification in the world for buildings.
It's quite a challenge, the Living Building Challenge, and therefore it's not adopted very often.
The Living Building Challenge kind of presented an opportunity for us to kind of give effect to what we teach and what we believe in.
It's a building functionally to support the marae, Te Herenga Waka.
I think because it's a companion building to Te Herenga Waka, it has the companionship between the past and the future. I've thought about this building for a very long time, and the Living Building Challenge has so many components to it that it lends itself to creating its own wairua.
It's a combination of the Living Building Challenge with Te Ao Māori, so we're trying to tell both of those stories.
We're a university with a marae at its heart, and so the idea is to bring students and staff from all over the world to moor their canoe figuratively here at the university, and the marae being that central focus point.
One of the strong ideas at the beginning was to lift the building up a little bit, as much glass as we could, so you could see through from the road to the house. So the house became more evident from the street and more visible.
And Professor Mead, who was the first professor at the time, he started a tradition of having lunch for students. We want to build that sense of community by being able to share knowledge but also break bread with them. We opened the wharenui in 1986, on December the 6th. It became a pioneering move by the professors at the time. The building itself, our wharenui, is very future-focused. Te Herenga Waka means the mooring posts of canoes, and so that fundamental metaphor of bringing people together. In the 80s, it was around bringing Māori together, and so we've extended that metaphor to be more inclusive of the whole university. The vision behind that building to be like a laboratory. So the professors at the time talked about the wharenui would not be dissimilar to a chemistry lab for the chemistry students, that you needed to be able to not just learn the theory of knowledge, but you needed a space to be able to practice it and apply that knowledge. And so that's been a fundamental part of the pedagogy of our programs.
It's 3,000 square metres, 3 stories, and it's a large building, but it's to support a much smaller building behind it. And the smaller building behind it's the one of the most importance. It's the carved house.
Māori way of pedagogy and being together is really connected and not siloed off. And so the interior has got a lot of porosity and connection vertically and horizontally, and you come in and you've got this big sort of ascending staircase. There's 2 atria that also work to promote natural ventilation with the stack effect, so that bringing air in, particularly on the tree, quiet, healthy sort of side rather than the roadside, up through the building. So the sound travels through the building, but the sound it's not such a difficulty to hear a waiata, to hear a karakia, or as it might be in a different kind of faculty.
Well, the petals are place, energy, water, materials, health and happiness, equity and beauty. The 3 really hard ones are water, energy and materials. Water and energy are hard because there's a whole lot more than is on a business as usual building. Water you're collecting, roof water. We've got something like 13 tanks on this side under the deck and over here where we've got the wastewater treatment plant. So there's a lot of behind the scenes work on water. The roof is bristling with 551 PV panels, so that's about energy neutrality. But the hardest one is materials, and that is because we have to investigate every product for over 800 CAS number chemicals. And so that's the journey that Caitlyn's been on for 7 or 8 years now.
I get quite like, I don't know if it's the word, bold. Yeah.
I've had to protect the industry from Caitlyn.
When I first started out, I was just astounded that they wanted me to ask for then 99% declaration, not 100%, ask for 100% now. I was like, who would tell me 99% of what's in their product, let alone change their product? And one of our really good news stories is with Colour Coat. So they're a major coil coater, and when they worked with us over a period of about 2 years, they not only changed their product so that it was chromium-6 free, but they went all the way, got their declare label and are red list free.
Caitlyn, we've worked with very closely at Tennent Brown Architects. She's very environmentally focused. So in 2023, we took out our old gas ovens and we replaced them with infrared ovens, and that enabled us to be 59% reduction in carbon per tonne of painted steel. And when it came to the Living Building Challenge, they were very pleased that we already had all the accreditations, so that made their life a lot easier.
So that was a really exciting journey for me to be on, to be able to make some substantial change. The thing about how the Living Future Institute have crafted their certification is that architects have the power to specify. With a high-profile project like this, suppliers are wishing to be specified on something as sustainable and as non-toxic as this. And so they will sometimes go out of their way to change their product or to improve their product or to declare more of their ingredients so that we will choose them.
Because not only do we have to show that there's no adverse impact to the environment, we have to show that everything that goes into it from an HR perspective, culturally, that we're ticking all the boxes in a very regimented criterion that we have to fulfill.
The Living Building Challenge is one of the most rigorous, demanding certification systems in the world. So for us to be part of that is a real honour, and we can have our Abodo timbers included in those projects because we are red list free, declare and FSC certified. Working on this project has been special in lots of different ways, but seeing it all come together and come to life, the way that the timber has been used is really beautiful, the cultural intent, the texture. Tennent Brown have created a beautiful woven pattern that really enhances the timber and the texture as well. There's a very special feeling in the building. When you work in it, when you move through it, there's just a very special feeling here. My materials research builds the Declare database, which is publicly available. Anyone can go online and find not just non-toxic building materials, but fully transparent building materials.
There's lots of timber in these buildings. That's partly biophilic design, nature's patterns coming through in the building, but they're also about our carbon journey of trying to sequester more carbon, so prioritising natural materials and minimising steel, concrete and aluminium. And so these things all come together. There's lots of interconnectedness in terms of the Living Building Challenge as well.
Seismically, timber is exceptionally resilient and a great showcase for engineering using natural resources. But fundamentally, when it comes back to it, it's about locking up carbon. So the big difference with timber is the trees and the forestry are absorbing that carbon through its life cycle. And in the processing of those logs and timber, we are then locking up that carbon for an extended time. And one would hope that for the likes of the living pa, that these buildings will be secured for 100+ years. So effectively, we're increasing the life cycle, we're locking up and securing that carbon for an extended period. And the other great thing is, with this building material and this build approach, is they can be recycled as well.
With all the materials research that Caitlyn did, it's only good enough if it's followed through. If we get that material on site. You have to protect yourself from a subby with a ute with an extra stick of boss stick in the back, and they bring it on site. So we had a shop on site, which they were only allowed to use these particular products that we'd researched. And then every now and then there's a product that's not available, so we have to scramble around and research an alternative. So there's a whole process of working together, and so we can only achieve the really high demanding requirements of LBC with everybody. Caitlyn doing the research, the contractor managing the subcontractor understanding it. We had to have training sessions for the whole team. Every couple of months we would meet with a wide tract of the team, and often I had to see all the labourers, all the subcontractors. So I'd be sitting there talking to a labourer who's working as a plumber, be talking to them about electrical items, and so they could understand the big picture of why we were doing some of these slightly unusual things.
It almost felt like as soon as it started coming out of the ground, people were responding to it. And, you know, there was a level of excitement, yeah, particularly because it was being built with timber, such a different feeling to concrete and steel.
It feels like it's more than a forest. It's like there are these T-shaped columns, and they are big wooden elements. So it's like they're sort of sentinels. They're occupying the space, and you occupy around them and within them.
The fact that everybody who comes in here still smells the wood, and that in and of itself has its own calming effect. You don't hear the consistent hum of plant, of air conditioning, and the fact that you can look across and all you can see is nature. And on the floor that we're sitting on, where all our offices are, it literally feels like you work in a treehouse. And you get to see the kereru, and you get to see the kaka. It's a bit of an occupational hazard now, is that you get distracted by nature. I think that in and of itself helps to bring a sense of calm. It gives you a good wairua when you come in here. And seeing the students around, seeing them feel comfortable in that space. And so I think the building's design, kind of keep that wairua flowing. I like it. I like working here. But we also having to relearn how to live like a community as well, because we're living in the one space. Whereas before we were living across 5 villas, and you could have a sense of independence in one of the villas. But reconnecting back as a marae community has been, quite lovely.
As part of its seismic resilience, it allows for these buildings after a major seismic event to not only allow people to get out safely, but for these buildings to be fit for use, to be able to be reoccupied and reused after a major event. And I guess that's a point of difference between a lot of steel and concrete buildings. Yes, they'll stand up and let people get out safely, which is very important, but they may not be fit for use immediately after. And that's the asset. That's a significant advantage of timber being lighter and more ductile as a system to be able to support future-proofing.
When you think about the manufacturing process, we're not just protecting the steel so that it will last for 30, 50 years, depending on what substrate you get. We're also thinking about the impact that that product has on the environment that our tamariki will essentially have to grow up with. It's thinking about more than just now, it's thinking about the future.
We find out about toxic items later, and then we regret them, and then we change the law. But why don't we actually start out by saying this is the standard and we don't want a toxic building to begin with.
I'm really humbled to be able to lead the project, you know, just kind of standing on the shoulders of giants, really.
You are actually saying the most important thing is to have this regenerative, whole, full, thorough, determined approach to build in the most, not just the least harmful way, but the best way.